Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Voice of America, the official podcast of the People's National Party. I'm your host, Owen, and on today's episode, we will be briefly going over some of the top news stories of the week so that our listeners can be well informed about the news that is affecting our nation and the world as a whole. So just to start off with probably some of the biggest news, that is the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict. For those of you who are unaware, or you can't really be unaware at this point because it's been in the news for so much lately, but Kyle Rittenhouse basically is accused for shooting 3 people in Kenosha, Wisconsin last year, killing 2 of them. And he argues it was in a self-defense when these rioters and looters who were doing it in the name of Black Lives Matter and Antifa, he was there to protect small businesses, and basically he was met, there was a confrontation, and he fired when people were attacking him and chasing him down the streets and stuff like that. So the jury has decided their conclusion, and that is they voted unanimously that he is acquitted. He is not guilty of all the charges that were put against him, and so he will walk free. The punishment would have been, if he were to have been guilty for these charges, it would have been life in prison, no parole. So yeah, that huge win for the Second Amendment, huge win for self-defense, individual freedom, and very proud of the judge, very proud of the defense and the case that they put. Great win for America. It really is. When you are able to let a 17, now 18-year-old walk free, that's when you know justice has been served. So my heart goes out to Rittenhouse, his family. Obviously, putting politics aside, you have to realize that, ideally, no one should have been shot or killed. There should have never been a need for this case. But too often, there is a need for justice to be delivered. And that's when it can get really divisive, when we have to choose what side to join, what side to be on. I am saddened that 2 people had to die that night. Another person had to be shot. But that doesn't convince me to be on their side in this case, because what they were doing was wrong in the first place. And Kyle Rittenhouse was, like I said, acting on self-defense. He was protecting the small businesses. He had traveled there from his own town specifically to do this. You can look at all the footage if you'd like. There is no way that you could argue he was doing it out of a racial bias, or he was doing it because he was a racist or a white supremacist or a shooter, like a school shooter, which is all the labels that the media labeled him as. He is obviously innocent, but beyond that, he's just a true American patriot, and we stand with Kyle. And Kyle is going to go on to do some great things in this world, and we respect him. Moving on to the next stories, pretty crazy approval ratings for Joe Biden right now. It is said that 36% of the United States is in support of Joe Biden right now, which is a record low approval rating. If you look at the map, when you break it down individually between each state, there's only like a handful. Like, you could count on your fingers how many states actually have a majority of people who are supportive of Joe Biden and his policies. Joe Biden did just sign the infrastructure bill that we covered last week. That is official law now, so that will be carried out. Hopefully, there will be change economically speaking through that. But for the most part, people are fed up now. It's also showing in a Quinnipiac poll that just came out that the majority of Americans would actually prefer Republicans to lead the House and the Senate now rather than Democrats, whether that be because the Democrats haven't been able to really get any impactful change done, or because of the horrible Biden administration's um, lack of ability to actually not just pass legislation and get it signed into law, but also how they've dealt with immigration, how they've dealt with Afghanistan, and other issues like that. And that brings us to our next point, which is immigration, which is still a very serious issue. I don't know why people have stopped talking about this. There's still a considerable amount of illegal aliens crossing the border, and the Border Patrol is encountering nearly 200,000 of them just in these past couple months. It is a very legitimate, serious issue, and something must be done about it. However, the Biden administration believes, and Kamala Harris, who's in charge of the border crisis, believes that, things are fine the way they are, or they're going to fix the problem in the near future. But that's what they've been saying for almost a year now, and just about nothing has happened. In fact, it's only gotten worse. Moving on to the next story, OSHA actually just blocked the new Biden administration vaccine mandates that were about to go into effect, which, again, we covered it last week. Basically, the Biden administration said that every employee working for a company that has 100 or more workers, every member of that company has to either be vaccinated or tested on a daily basis for COVID. We already talked about how this is morally wrong. It is not constitutional in any way, and it is threatening the lives of American workers and working families all across America, from blue-collar to even white-collar labor and jobs, which is a serious problem that we do need to address. But OSHA actually just blocked it. OSHA is to suspend the enforcement of the COVID-19 vaccine mandate for large employers because, this is great, obviously. The American people were not supportive of this in any way. You had to be a staunchly, dyed-in-the-wool Democrat in order to support this policy. You couldn't be a moderate or an independent. They were very much against this. It is not right to do this to the American people. It is personal choice. Medical decisions are personal choice, and you should never have to worry about jeopardizing your job or your social status in any way. In order, you shouldn't have to get a shot or a jab in the arm in order to maintain those things. So those would be the top stories of this past week. And it's always important to, make sure that you pay attention to the news, because there's obviously always stuff going on. It's just some stuff isn't long enough to make a full 20-minute long video on or podcast on. So staying active with the news and the politics of today is really important, and I advise you to continue to do your own research. This podcast was obviously a lot shorter today. I am under the weather a little bit. I don't know if you can tell by my voice. I am a little bit sick. However, I did think it was important to get this episode out because we need the consistency, especially in this early stages of the podcast and of the party. It's important to be consistent. I didn't want to take a week off. Things could get very busy for me in the near future, and I want to take every opportunity I can to provide quality content to the viewers. So thank you all so much for listening to the podcast. If you have any recommendations for topics that you want discussed, as I've always said, please reach out to us. You can contact the party through social media, through the email. You can learn more about us on our website, And as always, I look forward to talking to you next week. And